Lorraine Roy, welcome to Writers in Relationship.
Oh, thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, and this is actually a joint post with Hodgepodge's Substack, so I should make sure to say that so everybody knows. And it's the first one.
Okay.
Um, so I always start interviews just inviting people to talk about, and we actually don't know each other, but
Mm.
what's the story of how you came in contact with Hodgepodge?
Oh my goodness. I was just sitting in front of my computer one day and an email came in from Aaron and it just said I didn't know anything about Hodgepodge. He was talking about that and he said we'd like to know if you would like to submit some of your images for our current upcoming issue. And how could I say no to that? I thought, oh, and so I started reading Hodgepodge and I look at how big this is. I mean, the writing was so rich and amazing, and the artwork was interesting. And how do you get from an artwork image to text? And I don't know. I just thought the idea was beautiful, so I jumped on it immediately, and we had a video interview, which I enjoyed tremendously. And so here we are now. And that's how it happens. And that's what I was saying before to Gail that in the art world, sometimes things just happen out of the blue, and those are often the best things. So I couldn't plan ahead for that.
Had you ever experienced somebody writing a story to one of your images? Is
Oh,
is this new for you, I guess I'm asking.
it's actually not because I've done quite a bit of crossover stuff with poets, mainly poets, and sometimes just using one word, but many times using uh, like a quote. And I even did an exhibition with a local poet, Jennifer Dunlop, that where she contributed some poetry, and I made some pieces that jumped off of her poetry, and then the opposite way that I read her poetry and did some pieces that jumped off of that. Went both ways is what I'm trying to say. And it was an amazing exhibition because we posted her poems beside my pieces. But then over at Carnegie Gallery, which is just down the hill, for years they've been doing a project where poets will come into the gallery, choose a piece, write a poem about it, and then those pieces and the poems are posted all over the village in storefronts. So many times my pieces have been chosen for poetry and then put up in the storefronts like that. So I thought, well, that's not really fair because I also thought that the artist should be able to choose poems and go the other way. So we did an exhibition the other way where the poets submitted a bunch of poems and then the artist would go in, pick a poem and did a piece off of that. And then another thing that I did, I mean, to me, words are so rich. I see pictures when I see words. So, it's especially, I don't know, I just find there's one project called the Light Ekphrastic. It's an organization in the United States where artists submit images and writers submit their writing, and then they pair us up. I don't know how they do it because it's kind of crazy. I have no idea how they paired me up with the ones that I've had. And I always look at that and I think, oh my God, there's no way I can do an image from that. And I end up doing something amazing just by thinking about it some more. So it makes me think about what's been written so much more on two projects like that. So yeah, I'm not new to this at all. And that's why I think, and every time is completely different, like a completely different experience. So yeah, yeah, I have done this kind of thing before, and I just want to keep doing it.
It's thrilling. And it's thrilling to hear the different ways, the different formats and structures that the projects take. Because you think
Hmm.
it's simple, you just pair them up. Well, no, it's not simple.
Hmm.
It can you can frame it a lot of different ways that stimulate your imagination to go in different directions. Is that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So yeah, don't I just actually it's one of the main ways that I get my inspiration. Although like I have other ways, but like when I'm feeling a little bit stale, I'll just pull out a poem and give myself a little assignment and that usually gets me going again. So that rarely happens, but it does happen. So yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fantastic. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about where you are. I always say when I'm talking to writers, they say, tell us about your setting. and your relationship to the setting and how it's if it has influenced your artwork.
hmm I live at the top of the escarpment just outside of Dundas, Ontario. So Dundas is in the valley, and I'm kind of at the top. So when I'm driving down, I get to see elements of the escarpment as I go down. And this is very, very different from where I grew up, which is completely flat. Southwestern Ontario farming country, perfectly flat. And here I am at the top of a bunch of rocks, basically. So yes, that definitely has um, influenced my work in that, well, I have a science background. I have a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture with a majoring in ornamental horticulture, which is basically a botany degree. So I look at plants that growing on the edge of the escarpment as survivalists. And some of the white cedars that grow along the escarpment are thousands of years old. So I've done projects based on that. Um, but also just living here. I'm on a half acre of property 100% organic. I don't use any chemicals at all. I'm probably the only one around here. I'm a bit of an oasis. Um, but it, I don't know, and I have a separate building for my studio. I know I'm really, really lucky. What you're seeing behind here is some of my materials, and I'm sitting in my studio right now. So having this dedicated space is really, uh, really helpful. Like I have cats in the house. Which is not helpful with the
But you
kind
don't,
of work
I'm
that I
guessing
do.
you don't let the cats in your studio.
Absolutely no, no, they do not. No, they have their own. Yeah, they're okay over there, but they don't need me here. So yeah, um, yeah. So that too is very important. So that was one of the reasons we moved here. Plus, Dundas, Ontario, is a really major hub for art. Um, we have a gallery that's kind of a cross between a public artist-owned gallery and a commercial gallery, a very kind of unique gallery and an amazing studio tour. And one of the reasons that I wanted to live here was that connection to the other artists. More potters per capita than anywhere else in the world, also. So craft is big here. And being close to big hubs like Toronto and Hamilton and everything is also very helpful. So yeah, yeah, I feel like I've died and gone to heaven here.
That's so
So
great. I didn't know that about Dundas.
yeah,
It's that's fantastic. And to have
yeah,
that community is probably just such a nice inspiration, you know.
yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So when did you start working with fiber? I'm just curious about how that kind of all unfolded, especially given that you started studying botany, which is
Yeah.
related, but it's a very
Well,
different direction, right?
yeah, well, the textile part preceded that by a lot because my mother taught me to sew when I was about 6, and before that, I had full access to the box of scraps because she sewed. I mean, this was that generation, French Canadians. That's my background, and everybody sewed. Like all the kids sewed. Everybody knew how to do it, and fix things and everything else. So but at the age of 6, I started to sew. I was never a good seamstress. I couldn't make things fit. I mean, I had this idea in my head, but nothing I made looked like that at all. So when I discovered embroidery, that was a whole different thing. I could work on a surface rather than create something to wear. And everything grew from that. I mean, I was interested in art as a kid, and went to art classes and that kind of thing. But then all these things came together, the botany, the textiles, the art, the science, because science is also important in some of my work. So, yeah, I think I never didn't have something to do with fabric. So that's how that started, and the embroidery. And I think with the embroidery, I just picked up a kit from a garage sale or something, and then I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. So I made kits and kits and kits for until I was past university. And then I joined the Embroiderers Guild in London, Ontario, where I was living at that time. And they were bringing in textile artists from all over the world to teach workshops. And then I figured out, oh my goodness, this is a thing. You could make a living being an artist and still stay with textiles. So, I mean, it was a very organic process. I couldn't have predicted I'd be here right now doing what I do at all. I mean, I thought I was going to be an entomologist because I loved bugs. That was it. But so
So
much more
you
than
said
that.
you started with kits, where they sort of pre-design give you a
Yeah,
pre-designed thing.
yeah.
Remember the first thing that you did that wasn't a kit where you did your own design?
Yes, I do actually, because that was when I belonged to the Canadian Embroiderers Guild, and I took a class. They didn't want kits. You were not to bring kits. You had to design your own. And so I took a class and I made this piece. It was poppies and it was quite abstract. Um, and red poppies with the blue background and the stitched stems and everything. And I was like, I looked at that and I thought, wow, that was my own idea. And I made that. And then, I mean, they were so supportive. I mean, I owe everything I am right now in the textile art world to the Canadian Embroiderers Guild in London. So, so yeah, otherwise, how would I have had access to all this information and all this inspiration? So,
Your community really is important.
oh, it absolutely is. Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
oftentimes people think of, we have this sort of stereotype of the artist or the writer as this sort of solitary figure. And we do spend a lot of time alone, but it
Hmm.
not in a vacuum, right?
No, absolutely not in a vacuum. No, you're very right there. I think like you can't create in community. I don't know. I have to be alone. Like I am a loner and I'm an introvert. Yeah, you hardly can tell. I mean, but I am, and I need that time, and that's when I replenish myself. But going out and talking to friends and kind of sharing what it's like because it's not all, daisies and happy things. There's lots of rejection and comments and things that don't go your way and scary times like income wise and all that kind of thing. And sharing that with other people is really, um, I don't know. I don't know. It's helpful. It really is helpful.
Yeah, Hodgepodge there's a big focus in our community on relationships and how relationships can support what we're doing, and there's the inherent pleasure of being in a relationship with another human.
Hmm.
There's also the relationship that we have with our materials and with our tools, and
Hmm.
that's unique too. If we think, well, it's not just us, it's, I have a pencil or I have a computer or I have a piece of fat. So I'm just moving in a little different direction. So visual artists have really interesting tools.
Hmm.
So I'm just very curious about what tools do you use in your practice? And can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I have nothing fancy. I mean, I have this very, very old semi and light, what they call in light industrial Bernina. And it is so old, it's kind of like that olive color, it's a heavy metal thing.
Is that a sewing
Uh,
machine, a Bernina?
yes,
Oh,
sewing
okay.
machine.
Wasn't
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know. What do I know?
Of course. It's a sewing machine. It has a 3 horsepower motor, so that baby can sew through layers and layers. I mean, I sometimes use a lot of layers in my work. And like I don't have to take it out to do anything. If something goes wrong with it, I can stick a in it and get it going again. It's just this workhorse. And people are amazed that that's all I use because I mean, a lot of people in the textile world have this fancy machine with long arm and computerized and all that stuff. And here I am with this dinky little thing in the corner that does everything.
Can you
And
show it
it's
to us? I don't know if you can
okay,
like,
let's see if I
I'm just so
can.
curious.
Okay, I don't know.
Look at all the
I'm gonna.
fabric. It's so cool.
She's here. She is. Uh, okay, I don't know. It's very hard to do. There. Oh,
Oh,
wait. There it is.
oh, very simple.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing on there that would, you know, try anybody's patience, basically on how to use it. Um, And I have a guy in Guelph who fixes it for me when it needs to be not fixed, but refurbished and that kind of thing. Every 3 years, it goes over there for him. So, but mainly the other things, tools like yeah, that's it. That's my that's my right and left arm
And I mean,
basically.
obviously scissors, like you just,
And so yeah, scissors and sometimes I don't do hand embroidery anymore. for years and years, I did hand embroidery. I taught hand embroidery. I was like the hand embroidery queen. And then I just had so many ideas and I wanted to work bigger and I wanted to work faster. And I just thought, I want to stick with fabric. People say, well, why don't you just start painting? Well, painting is a whole other thing. I mean, I tried painting and I'm a lousy painter. Like, just can't take a white background and do something with that. You have to start from scratch. With fabric, you've got something. You know, you've got colors like this stuff, right? You got something
Oh,
to
it's so
start with. That's a man's shirt.
nice. It's
That's
beautiful. That's
it's
a
a man's
shirt?
shirt. That's a man's shirt. And I've mined it for like, look at that. I've taken you can see it's not much left of it, but this is one of my favorites. I go to thrift stores and buy men's shirts, especially that kind of men's shirts, and all kinds of things from thrift stores and that where I get like if you want to talk about materials, what you see behind me right now is my small part of my collection of fabrics. So instead of mixing paints like a painter would, I have to have all of the colors on hand. And then when I don't have them on hand, I just make do with what I've got, which ends up being something just as good as what I thought in the beginning. So yeah, it's very different from painting in that way. And then when I don't like a surface that I'm making, I just throw more fabric on top and change it that way. So, a painter will say to me, "How on earth can you do that? This is looks so difficult." And I look at them and I think, I don't know how you do what you do. So,
Well, that to me it points out that there is this intimate there's an intimate relationship with what you're working with that
yes,
you can't sub it out. You can't be like, oh,
no,
well, if I can do fabric, I can do. No, it doesn't work like that. You've
no.
developed that intimacy over many, many years, and you know things because of the amount of time you've spent with fabric. Is that right?
Exactly, exactly. And it does pay to try doing the other things just so you can appreciate what the others are doing. I mean, I appreciate what writers do. Oh my God. Like I'd be in the thesaurus 24 hours a day. Like the words just don't come to me. Like I've got this feeling, I want to express it in words. I can't, it's very hard to do. So like, all of the different mediums have a- they need a special kind of person to do them, right? You have to have a special kind of affinity in a way for your medium, and you gravitate towards that over time if you're allowed to. I mean, hopefully you have the freedom because it's so rewarding. Yeah, no, there's nothing more rewarding than that.
So you have it's interesting because there's the affinity piece.
Mhm.
There's the relationship, which is just sort of the practice, but then there's the affinity, and you have
Mhm.
that affinity for words, which is not all artists have that. Like that's a
Mhm.
unique thing. And I went through your newsletter and you're giving this lecture in Guelph on Wednesday on your series, Living Language Land, Word Portraits from the Earth. And I
Mhm.
just wanted to read this quote. The series brings together themes I'm passionate about: our relationship with nature, love of words and language, and earth-based spirituality. So I just wanted to have you talk a little bit more about your love of words because it's a big overlap. And like when did that start and how does that manifest?
Oh, wow. I don't know when it started, but it manifests. I mean, I'll look at a cluster of words. Like, for example, my friend, I don't know if I wrote it down here. Yeah, okay. So here's my friend Jennifer Dunlop, who's a poet. I glimpsed stars climb down the tree of sky, cast lacy light, curious about earth, fascinated by weighty ground, cartwheeling through gravity's haze. And I have this picture in my mind when I see that. I mean, how can you not read that and see something? And then not all of groupings of words like that do I want to express as an image. But this particular, well, I had a tree in it, which really helped. But also there's all this, the stars and the way that they want to come down to the earth. And, I don't know, there was something about it that brought together so many things about what, like that idea of spirituality, that idea of connection to the earth, the idea that trees are actually connecting the sky to the earth with their roots. And so many cultures have trees in them as, major characters um, in religion, spirituality, culture. So and words come into that, because they're expressed as words, but they're also expressed in art. And there's a reason for that, because you say that everybody experiences the world in a completely different way. And s- seeing it from somebody else's perspective, um, the way that you would do the image as opposed to what someone else would do is really interesting. And the way that someone thinks about something when they see the image, for example, when your group writes about something that I wrote, is, I don't know, it's kind of it's not, I wouldn't say disorienting, that's not the word. It's a learning curve, I guess you would say, about what other people experience. And it makes you so much more, I don't know, empathetic. I think it's empathy is a big, big aspect of all this. Creating empathy and sharing empathy. So yeah, I think my love of words is kind of about that. But this particular project that I was doing is like normally I'm working with poetry and literature and that kind of thing. But this was 26 single words, each word from a different culture somewhere in the world, a different sort of land-based culture. And there was a lot of research done about each of these words. I'm not the one who did the research. I'm not the one who collected the words. I found a website that had this collection of words on it. And all the research had been done, all the permissions had been gotten from the different cultures that contributed the words. And there was so much information about each one. But like I'll just give you an example, like the word Wiyukshan. It's a Lakota word from the Great Plains of central USA. So in Lakota thinking, living things, including the sun, are are not nouns, they're verbs because they're always changing. When we our word for tree is like we see this tree, the tree is there it's not. But in their language, it's a verb. It's always moving, always changing, which is what nature is really like. And yet it just how do I express that in an image? Like, and what a way to see the world. Like it made me think of that movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Arrival. Um,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So it's an extraterrestrial race that lands on Earth, and they're not there to conquer, they're not there to destroy, they're there to give us a gift. And the gift is a language that incorporates past, present, and future in each utterance. Now, I mean, I went to the short story, like the original short story was by Ted Chiang. It was
Well,
called
that
Story of
was
Your
Denis
Life.
Villeneuve, right?
What's that?
It was directed by Denis Villeneuve
Was
from,
it?
I
Oh,
think
I'm
so.
I'm not sure.
Anyway,
It's very possible.
but
It's
it
very
was
possible.
based on a short story that I didn't know. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
films, interestingly.
Yeah. And the short story had more details in it, which is what I was looking for. But then I realized like this is a story, but the Lakotas already had this. Like having the a tree as a verb incorporates time into the word. So it incorporates past, present, and future
And
because it's always becoming.
all of the text was in a circle, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that
Yeah,
it corresponds to the non-linearity, which is that perspective on time. Yeah, it's super cool. And
exactly.
of course, I'm not surprised. It's not the European
Of
filmmaker who
course.
came up with
Yeah.
the idea,
No,
right?
because you want to pin everything down, right? Like that's the amazing thing. And that's what you learn. I learned that from one word. And so how do I do that as an image? So I thought, okay, I thought I'd show it to you. Well, this is the drawing that I did. I wanted to incorporate time. So there's the world and there's day and night. So the tree is sitting on top of the world, which is, I'm hoping it looks like it's turning, but maybe it's not. But anyway, this is the piece itself. And in each of the pieces, the 26 of them, I also included the word because I thought the word was really important to put in there. And then on the back of the piece is the legend of what it means. So I did this.
It's so much more beautiful. Like even just you showing it to me on the screen versus seeing it on your website, it's so much more dynamic
Oh,
and
well, thank you. They're in
gorgeous.
person. They're hopefully
Even
better. I
better.
mean, I just what can you do with just a photo? But anyway, um, yeah, I don't know. It was being able to, every single one of those words was like a window into a whole other world. And so for every one of those words, I sort of immersed myself in what the information was there, and then tried to think of how do I express that in, in an image. And I think it's one of the most fascinating projects I've ever done. I like doing this kind of project. I'm an assignment oriented person. So I don't just sort of like, I'll make a piece, I'll make a piece. No, I have to have I give myself an assignment. And yeah, and they had to be small because I wanted to finish them within my lifetime. That was another thing.
So like,
But
do you have, are these all on display in the gallery together?
they're right now in my studio. And they've toured to so far 4 different venues, and I'm going to take them to Guelph on Wednesday night. I don't know how, there's so many of them, but we'll put them out on tables or something. And yeah, the group I'm speaking to is called Guelph Seminars. So they were they were put together in order to bring a spiritual element to some of the classes that were being offered at University of Guelph, which is my alma mater also. So, yeah, and I at the Arboretum where I'm giving the talk is where I used to work also as an undergrad and after I graduated. So, like that's almost 50 years ago. That's
Oh,
49 years ago.
about that. I'm so curious if that, so that was one of your first jobs, was it?
Yeah. No, no, I have had
Oh,
lots of jobs. Oh, what I've had a million jobs, but this particular one was one of my favorites. It was so much. I learned so much.
what did you like about it?
Oh, I liked just being I'm a workhorse. I just like being outside, and I like digging holes, and I like moving dirt, and I like planting things, and it was all about that. I was actually not on the grounds themselves. I was in the nursery, which was even better. Um, One of my favorite jobs was collecting seeds. And I know it sounds like, oh, well, you're collecting seeds, but every single tree has a different ripening time for its seeds. Every tree has a different kind of seed. Some of them are dry, some of them have fruit on them, some of them have like there's all different kinds of ways. And we gathered them, processed them, uh, treated them whatever way they needed to be treated, and then put them in little envelopes. And then we'd share them with arboreti from all over the world. But you're collecting seeds all year long. Like some of them mature after winter. Some of them mature in the spring. Some of them mature late in the summer. Most of them do actually. And then, I mean, you had to keep track of that. And then individual trees had their own particular little personality. Like maybe I'll do this a little later than this tree, that kind of thing. So, you get to know so much more about, like, I mean, I I think of trees as individuals, not as collectives. And each one, in a way, in most of my work, they represent us, a human, and they have something to say. So that's another aspect of my work as well.
Did you feel close to the trees?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I did. I mean, I grew up. We had an orchard. We had a wild area by the river. I grew up by a river, so I was always up in the trees. And,
Like
that was
literally, were you,
literally
did you
up in the
climb
trees,
them?
climbing up in the trees. Yeah, I have the knees to prove it. It's covered with scars. But, that's the way you live. That's the way I grew up. An idyllic childhood in the country. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Um, so we're kind of getting toward the end. What advice might you have for people, it's mostly writers, um, who are watching, who are interested in collaboration, which is a, form of relationship when you work with other people, like especially for, for those of us who are used to working by ourselves and maybe are more introverted.
Hmm. I don't know. I would say be open to surprises. Um, I read all of the short stories that you sent me, and I thought, oh my gosh, like for example, like the dark humor. I hadn't expected like for the piece. Uh, well, let's see, what was that piece? Not Leap of Faith, the other In the Garden, right? Tim
Very,
Golds.
very, very dark.
Tim Goldstone's Nature's Child, like in a few short words, like he used the image of in the garden as the end result of choices in a dystopian world. And the very end, like I just burst out laughing. I love dark humor. But this was really, and then another story where somebody buried their father in the garden was really good. Um,
So
and
was it surprising to read some of these?
well, yes, because I find it's a very sad image. It's a very sad. I mean, it's sad and emotive, and I mean, that's what I meant it to be. And then this comes out of it, and I think, like it was wonderful. It's wonderful, and and on the other hand, like then it happens sometimes like a poignant like leap of faith, a clearing by S. Maxfield. So she worked in even more imagery into an already image-heavy piece, like splashes of wet salt. Like you can hear it, not only see it, you can hear it. The grief of falling leaves, and then the fresh exposed wounds. I don't know. All I can say is be courageous, put your ego at the door. Because if you think that you've done something that, okay, this is how I feel, somebody else is going to interpret it completely differently. And at first, when I first started making art, I tried very hard to, okay, this is what I mean, and this is how I'm going to put it, and look at it. And then the more I talked to people who looked at it and saw their different interpretations, and then started letting go of that, the more my art evolved, I think, because I was less about me putting stuff into it and just letting things come through naturally. So forcing things, I don't know, it just never really, it never went very far with me. I'm more like, okay, when something isn't working, just try to do something else. And it's the same as exposing your work to the world. You never know where it's going to go. So yes, and I say do it. My goodness, like, try that light ekphrastic. That's really fun. And
Do you
You'd
have
be amazed.
a URL for that? Because I'd
Uh,
love
it,
to,
it's
if that's something that's open to people, like they're
it is.
okay,
It's
because
open to anyone.
people might be really interested who are
Oh
watching.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll get that from you later, and
Okay,
I'll put it in the piece.
okay, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Yes. So, um,
And if we want to find out more, I guess we can go onto your website and look at
yes,
some of your images.
yes.
Great. Anything else in closing that you'd like to share with people who are watching?
Just that I'm really looking for. I'd like to go to the. I just got the note from Aaron that you have the official opening or the reception on the 18th, I think. Yes, at 4 o'clock. So yes, I'm going to. I think he sent me some questions and that I'll be there for my 3 to 5 minutes or whatever that is. So
That's
very
awesome.
much looking forward to that.
Yeah,
So
and
and to
it's
reading
really
the other stories.
it's so much
So
fun when the artists come and then there's because there's some readings and there's some and to have the artist present is great. So I'm tickled that you're gonna be able to take the time to be with us.
oh yeah, yeah, very much looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, and thank you. And I personally want to say my piece that I wrote too is the one with the blue ladder that's kind of coming
Oh
down.
yes. Uh-huh.
And there's no way I would have written the story that I wrote but for that image.
Isn't that
I
amazing?
mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
just pushed my brain in a completely different direction, and
Mm.
I loved the process. I love the piece, and I'm just super grateful. So I just personally, as a writer, I just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, I'm grateful too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Thank you
thank
for sharing that.
excellent, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the launch.
Okay.
Thanks,
All
Lorraine.
right. Nice to meet you, Gail.
You too.